Have you got enough time? You've got 9 minutes.
Yeah, we can do it 9.
Yeah. What?
Anyone got the time? We've got enough
I
time.
said, have you got enough time?
We've got enough time.
You fucking...
He's flexing the watch, isn't he?
Fuck off.
Right, we're good. Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on the DAZN. What's happening, Frankie boy?
What's happening, mate? You all right?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
What's happening, girl?
Really?
Joking.
Really?
Sorry.
What chat-up line did you use to get Emily's attention, however many years ago?
I didn't really use a chat-up line.
I feel like
It's
you are a
back in
bit
the
of
day.
a what's happening girl, you're right.
No, don't be silly. I've lost my Essex boy roots. I haven't got that game anymore. No, I just said, hey, how are you? I'm Frank Smith. I'm the T-boy. Anything you need. I basically just did anything she asked me.
Yeah.
Similar to now, really.
Like most men.
Yeah.
Like most men.
Best way, mate.
Yeah. I found that out as well. Right, we ain't got too long, so let's jump straight in. 12 hours straight through on the zone. Dalton Smith, Diego Pacheco. Similarities sort of both on the cusp of world honours. Pretty good Saturday night.
100%. What a night. What value from DAZN boxing. You know, 2 nights, 2 fight nights, 12 hours of boxing, stars all throughout the cards. And, you know, this is what it's all about. Global domination of boxing. You know, from sunny Nottingham to sunny Las Vegas. Can't wait for it, mate.
Eddie's got the more glamorous gig. And
What are you talking
you only
about?
have to walk outside and this ain't a slate on Nottingham, but I'm
Wait,
not being funny.
Nottingham in January? Nottingham or Vegas in January? Where are you picking? Nottingham all day long. Let me tell you, mate.
Can I say it's a bit grim out there today without getting grilled in the comments by our Nottingham viewers?
It's not grim out there. It's beautiful, Nottingham. I love Nottingham. One of my favourite places.
Yeah.
Got a good history here.
Your nose just grew. What do you want to see from Dalton Smith on Saturday night?
I want to see a blistering performance. I want to see a big knockout win. You know, he's been unfortunate with delays, you know, with injuries. He came off the back of that Zepeda win, you know, where many people doubted him really and thought it was too soon for Dalton Smith. But he showed his ability, he showed the levels he's at. And, you know, I want to see a big win for him. I want to see him go and get that EBU belt, a belt that he's wanted for a long time. And then from there, drive on to, you know, world title shots, which I believe can happen in 2025.
Yeah, obviously Adam Azim's fighting Feb 1st. On March 1st on the Tank undercard is Puello and Sandor Martin. They've got the WBC belt. He's WBC silver.
He's WBC number 2 as well.
There you
ranked
go.
number 2, so he's in a position for a mandatory shot, I believe.
Out of Adam Azim, and let's just say he wins, out of Adam Azim and the WBC winner on March 1st, what would be your priority leading into the summer?
The world title shot. Like the Adam Azim fight, when it presented itself, when the bids were there, before Adam Azim and the guys pulled out, that fight made sense. The position that Dalton Smith is in right now, what makes sense for him is to win a world title. He's beyond that now. And I'm not saying it doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the future, but Adam Azim is not... Adam Azim, I don't believe, is fighting for a world title. He's not calling out world champions to fight them, you know. And this is no sly on Adam, by the way. I think he had a great performance against O'Hara Davis. I think he's got a tremendous future. But we focus on Dalton Smith's career. We're not going to wait around for other people. And Dalton Smith is ready to challenge for world titles. You know, before Liam Parrow fought Richardson Hitchens, I was having discussions with Dalton's team about potentially taking that fight. He wants the biggest fights. And, you know, that fight can happen down the road. You know, Adam Azim's going to go and do his own thing. But we're focused on Dalton Smith and making big fights for Dalton Smith. And that's what you'll see.
And it all begins with him collecting the first strap before world honours. Right, into the Eubank Benn stuff. What was the feeling like in that room, just watching Conor put pen to paper? You've mentioned how hard you've had to work over these 2.5 years. Just watching him sit there, sign the contract, the big wigs in the room, Conor, yourself, Eddie, His Excellency. What was it like just seeing pen to paper?
Yeah, obviously an amazing feeling when when you put so much work and time and sort of effort into something over the years. And I've always been very open about it. It's a fight I've always wanted to see. I've never shied away and pretended like, oh, play it cool. It's a huge fight. It's a huge fight for British boxing. Now, with Tyson Fury retired, it's probably the biggest fight in British boxing outside of AJ Fury if that was to happen. So it's something that I've always wanted to see happen. I'm delighted we got there. And it's going to be a massive night.
I saw you like frantically kind of running around alongside Conor at the Feb 22 launch presser. I think, was it that night that things were signed, or was it the night after?
It was another night, I think. It was
Right.
around that
But at
period.
the launch presser, were you still, like when you was on the phone, were negotiations still ongoing
There was,
at that point?
there was lots going on, and it got there. It got there in the end. There was lots of work. And look, I think, as always, with His Excellency's involvement, it makes these fights, it takes a lot of the ego away of splits, this, that, the other. It's about making great fights happen, and that's what you're going to see.
How much more lucrative is this fight? I know you won't talk exact numbers, but if you can give me like a 5 times, 10 times, how much more lucrative is it now than 2.5 years ago?
A few times. Look, the first fight was huge, right? You know, I don't know if you remember that feeling around fight week when it came round, the build up to it obviously didn't end in a great way, as we know, and there's no point recapping that. We spent enough time doing that and enough questions. But that first fight was massive. This is now very different because there's some real spite and hate and dislike there that probably wasn't there the first time round. You know, and it's the build up is going to be sensational. We're going to have a lot of fun, and yeah, I can't wait for that date to come round and we see a huge fight in the sport.
I spoke to Benn Shalom a couple of days ago, and he said that there was a late request for the rehydration clause.
No. Look, firstly, I think we've got to change the wording of it's a second day weigh-in. Right, it's not a rehydration clause. It's a second day weigh-in. It's standard. The IBF do it for most of their fights. A number of fights over. It's not like something that's just created just for this individual fight, right?
Do you think the rehydration clause gives off the perspective that it's making someone boil themselves
down to it? Yeah. I mean, the day they have to make weight is the 160 day, really, and then from there it's tracking the weight. Look, from Conor Benn's perspective, he's a 147 fighter, not a huge 147 either. Let's be honest. And he's coming up 2 weight divisions. Chris has got to make 160. It's at his natural weight. You know, he's done this weight for a long, long time. The first time round the fight was at 157. He'd never made that weight before. This is at 160. And look, it's sort of a balance in between, isn't it? You know, Conor's making a big jump to come up. And look, if Chris wasn't comfortable doing it, he wouldn't have agreed to it. And it's not something that just came up. It's something that has been suggested, like, even from early iterations and discussions of it. I'm not saying Chris always agreed to it, by the way. I'm not saying Chris jumped out and went, yeah, I'll do it at the start. But that's like any negotiation, isn't it? And it came to a point where he agreed to something that he was amenable to.
How do family conversations go around Sunday dinner until April the 26th?
I'm cancelling Sunday dinner until... Fortunately, I'm away nearly every week. But look, I've been very open about it. I make absolutely zero difference. Like, the reality is my job as a promoter is to work on putting on great fights, great events, great shows. I love putting on events. I've always been open about that. I have no involvement or discussion in tactics. I have no clue about tactics. I'm not here saying I'm going to go and tell a fighter what to do. I'm not a manager. I'm not a trainer. The best man's going to go in there and win, regardless of my involvement in it. My job is to put on a great show, help sell a load of tickets, make sure the fireworks go off at the right time, and just a big night of sport, and that's my focus. And like I say, the best man's going to win.
Yeah, I can't wait. In terms of the broadcast situation, so it will be on DAZN, pay-per-view, but Sky, it seems there might be a hesitancy potentially to broadcast this fight. I don't know what the backstory is. I know there was talk of Eubank's management and Conor's failed tests of previous, but many a fighter have headlined Sky with managers in the spotlight or fighters who failed tests. What's your understanding? Because it does seem a bit odd, if we're being honest, for a fight of this magnitude.
I can't really comment on it because it's not my involvement. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, I don't work with Sky, obviously, in boxing. That's something you'd have to speak to Benn Shalom on. You know, there's been a number of articles over a period of time that the same journalist has put out, and he's the only one who can really comment on it. You know, he's got the relationship with Sky. He's got the relationship on that side, so he's the one who'd really have to give you an answer on that.
Could they be looking for excuses because of potential DAZN exclusivity? We heard about Turkey and Saudis looking and some interest in DAZN.
There's a lot of stuff. You know what boxing's like. There's a lot of things that go around, but it's not really my place to comment on it. In all honesty,
don't know how we've managed to squeeze that into 9 minutes. Final one. What are you going to give us in the presser? We haven't got any Hearn today. What are we going to get from you, Frank?
A 2 Bob Eddie Hearn, mate. Unfortunately, I'm always honest. I'm not Eddie Hearn. I never will be Eddie Hearn, but I'm Frank Smith. So enjoy.